Blind in a world of light. Hey friends, tonight we begin a journey into one of the most tender and mysterious miracles in the life of Jesus. No thunder, no parting skies, just dust, whispers, and a quiet man sitting in darkness, waiting for something he can't name. If you've ever felt overlooked or wondered if God sees you, you may find yourself in his story. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And leave a comment to tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You sit beside him at the edge of the road. His hands rest in his lap, rough from years of searching, not for coins, but for certainty, for presence, for meaning. He was born blind, not injured, not struck by illness, born into a world of sound, scent, and sensation, but no light. He's never seen the olive trees that bend over the road, never seen the faces of the ones who pass, never seen his own hands, though he's traced their shape thousands of times. What does it mean to be blind in a world made for the eyes? You feel it in the way people walk around him, how they drop a coin without stopping, how they talk as if he's not there, or worse, talk about him as if he cannot hear. He hears everything. The clink of sandals on stone, the laughter of children, the murmurs of men quoting scripture, the whispered questions that always come too late in the day to ignore. Did his parents sin? Was it something he did before birth? Why would God allow this? He hears them all. And the hardest part? He's never had an answer. His world is defined not just by what he cannot see, but by the weight of what others assume about him. You watch him tilt his head as people pass, his face calm, almost peaceful. But you know, beneath that stillness, there's a storm of longing. He wants to see, not out of vanity, not to be more like others, but to know the colors people speak of, to see the way sunlight falls across water, to look into the eyes of another and understand what connection means, but mostly to look upon the face of God. He hears the world but cannot behold it, and yet he still hopes. Every morning, he returns to this place near the city gate. The warmth of the sun is his clock. The softness of the soil beneath his fingers tells him where he sits. The voices of the crowd form a kind of map, a landscape of life he navigates without vision. People know him here, not by name, just by placement. He's always here. The blind man near the gate, the one with the cup. They don't ask his story. They assume they know it. You sit beside him in the rising warmth of morning. He shifts his shoulders, adjusts the cloth around his knees. Listen, because today feels different. The footsteps sound slower, heavier, not rushed. People are following someone. You hear it too, a hush behind the usual noise, a ripple of reverence moving through the crowd. And then someone stops, right in front of him. Not a coin, not a question, just presence. You watch the blind man's head left, his expression alert, not frightened, just ready. A voice speaks, low, calm, filled with something that hums deeper than words. Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? It's a question he's heard 100 times before. But this time, the answer will be different. Because the one answering isn't just another passerby. He is the light of the world. He is the one who sees in ways no one else can. He is Jesus. And today, everything will change. Not all at once, not in a blaze, but in steps, in touch, in faith. And for the man born blind, this will be the first day he ever sees light. But already, he is being seen, truly seen, not as a problem to explain, not as a punishment to justify, but as a person to love. And you sit with him as the first breeze of mercy brushes across his skin. The healing hasn't begun yet, but already the darkness is being stirred. Section 2. Days at the Gate, Nights in Silence. The sun lifts higher now, spilling honey-colored warmth across the stones at his feet. You feel it too, how even heat carries its own kind of rhythm. He adjusts slightly, turning his face toward the light, though he's never seen it. He's learned to recognize the world by warmth, by echoes, by the hush of passing clouds. This is the man's place, his daily station at the city gate. Not chosen, not special, but familiar. Here, the stones remember his presence. The vendors recognize the hollow of his voice. Even the dogs tread lightly around him now, as if he's part of the landscape. He doesn't beg with loudness. He doesn't stretch out his hand with force. He waits. Sometimes that waiting yields a coin. Sometimes it yields nothing at all. But it is not just coins he longs for. No, beneath it all is the quiet ache. Does anyone see me? You sit beside him in the silence that fills the spaces between footsteps. The morning grows louder with trade, greetings, conversations, but they all pass him by. And at night, the world recedes. The gate closes, the voices fade, and he returns to the single room he knows as home. It's not much. A mat, a bowl, the gentle rustle of wind against dried reeds in the ceiling. No family waits for him. No friend lingers to speak. Only silence. And in that silence, he traces the outline of his own fingers, over and over again. Sometimes he speaks aloud, not to anyone in particular, but to God. Do you still make things new? His voice breaks the stillness like a pebble dropped into still water. He talks of colors, though he's never seen them. Of stars, though he's never glimpsed their shine. Of faces, though he's never known the difference between a frown and a smile. But even in that darkness, he dreams. And in those dreams, he walks with sight. He sees children playing, lamps glowing, the sea shimmering with dawn. And he wakes. To silence, to stillness, to dark. Still, the dreams do not leave him empty. They whisper, maybe one day. So he returns to the gate. Each morning, each evening. The same stone beneath him, the same breeze at his back. And you sit beside him now, hearing what others never pause long enough to hear. His thoughts, his longings, his prayers whispered not in grand temples, but into the folds of his own robe. He remembers voices from his childhood, ones that said healing was for the worthy, that if he had been born blind, it must have been someone's fault. Maybe his mother, maybe himself. And that wound, deeper than blindness, has followed him. But somehow, it hasn't broken him. Still he hopes. Still he waits. And somewhere inside that waiting, a quiet kind of faith is forming. Not the loud declarative kind, not the kind that boasts in crowds, but the kind that watches wind rustle fig leaves and says, yes, you are there. The kind that believes without ever having seen. He doesn't know Jesus is near, not yet. He doesn't know that love is drawing closer with every footstep. But something in him has started listening differently. The air feels thick with possibility. And though he cannot explain it, he tilts his head, as if hearing a familiar voice just out of reach. His heart quickens, not with fear, but with recognition. And perhaps that is the beginning of every miracle. Not the moment the eyes open, but the moment the soul senses it is being sought. Tonight, as the last merchant calls out his wares, as shadows stretch longer across the gate. You watch him gather his things slowly. There's no rush, because even in the repetition of his days, something is stirring. And when he lays down again on that humble mat, you hear his final words before sleep. Still here, still waiting, still listening. And somewhere beyond the city walls, the footsteps of a Savior are drawing near. The sound of questions, not answers. Morning again. Not dramatic, just quiet light spilling between rooftops, nudging the city awake in pale gold. You sit with him as he smooths the mat beneath him, fingers brushing dust from fabric, listening for the familiar rhythm of footfalls through the gate. This is his world, defined by what he hears, not what he sees. And what he hears, most days, is not kindness. Sometimes it's coins, sometimes it's silence, but more often it's questions. Always questions. But never to him. They ask about him, like he's not there, like he's part of the scenery, like a stone beside the road, worn by time but never truly known. "Rabbi," someone whispers one morning, "who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" You've heard it before, so has he. It's the question that follows him like a shadow. Whose fault is this? As if his condition must be a punishment, as if the pain must trace back to guilt. You see the way his shoulders stiffen, just slightly. He doesn't reply. He never does. Because no one expects an answer from him. They ask God about him, but never invite him into the conversation. And he's learned, silence protects him more than words ever could. But still, it stings. He wonders, late at night when the world goes quiet, did his parents weep the day he was born? Did they feel joy or shame? Did they pray for a different outcome? And most painful of all, did they ever blame themselves? You sit beside him in the ache of those unanswered thoughts. The world has built a narrative around him, a story of sin, consequence, and isolation. But he doesn't feel like a lesson. He feels like a man, a soul, a longing. Yet the crowd sees a riddle, a puzzle, a theological problem in human form. You imagine how it must feel to carry not just blindness, but accusation, to live as a question rather than a person. And so, day after day, he sits, not just in darkness, but in the weight of assumptions. What would you have done standing there? Would you have asked the same question? Would you have looked past him or at him? The people mean no harm, perhaps. They're just searching for meaning. But in their search for truth, they miss the heart right in front of them. And then, one day, the question is asked again. But this time, the man hears a voice answer, and it is different. Steady, gentle, alive with something deeper than reason. Neither this man nor his parents sinned, the voice says, but this happened so that the works of God might be revealed in him. You both freeze. His breath catches, because that is not the answer anyone ever gave before. Not punishment, not shame, but purpose. So that the works of God. The man tilts his head toward the voice, drawn like a tree toward light it's never felt before. This voice doesn't dissect him. It sees him, not as a symbol, but as a soul. You sense something awaken inside him, not certainty yet, not hope even, but curiosity. And that, sometimes, is how grace enters. The voice continues, speaking of light, of day and night, of doing the work of the one who sent him. But the man barely hears the rest, because already that first sentence is blooming like a seed dropped into rich soil. He was not forgotten. He was not cursed. He is, somehow, chosen, even in his blindness, even in his waiting.
And you feel it too, a turning in the air, a stillness before the wind shifts. Because when Jesus answers a question, he doesn't just explain. He restores, he rewrites. And something is about to change. Not only in what the man sees.
Footsteps that don't walk past. You're used to the rhythm by now. People pass him, shadows flicker, sandals scuff stone, and the day moves on. But today is different. You hear it before you see it. A group walking together, not rushed, not anxious, but purposeful. And they don't walk past. Their steps slow. The hush that follows them carries a presence. Even the birds seem quieter, as if something holy is nearing. You watch the man's head tilt slightly. He's listening, not just for sound, but for something deeper. A presence, a shift. Then the feet stop, right in front of him. Not beside him, not behind him, right in front. And still, he waits. He has learned not to assume kindness. Too often, stillness means judgment, curiosity, cruelty wrapped in curiosity. But then comes the voice again, low and even, the same voice that spoke of light and purpose. And it doesn't ask a question this time. It bends down, closer. You can feel the nearness of Jesus now. So close, the blind man could reach forward and brush the hem of his robe. But he doesn't. He stays still, open, receptive. There is something sacred in that stillness. Then you hear the sound, faint, strange, intimate. Jesus spits into the dust. It's unexpected, unusual, but not undignified. It is as if he's speaking a language older than words, one written in soil and breath. He kneels. The man cannot see it, but you can. Jesus' fingers move through the dirt, stirring it into something more, mud, clay, something ancient and alive. There is no crowd cheering, no angel singing, just Jesus, stooped low in the dust, making something holy out of the most common substance. It feels like Genesis again. From dust he formed man, and now, again, from dust he prepares to restore. You watch as he lifts his hands, mud clinging to his fingers. He leans in closer. The blind man doesn't flinch. He has nothing to fear from this presence. Jesus reaches out, and with that same careful stillness, he touches the man's eyes. The mud cools on his skin, gentle pressure where there had only ever been darkness. It's not magic, it's not dramatic, it's tender, deliberate, intimate. You watch the man breathe in, a long, slow inhale, as if part of him knows this moment matters. And you wonder, what would it be like to feel Jesus' hands on your deepest wound? No loud declarations, no spectacle, just his touch. In the silence that follows, you hear your own heart beating. Jesus speaks. "Go," he says softly, "wash in the pool of Siloam." The blind man nods, not because he understands, but because something in him trusts. It is a faith without evidence, a yes without guarantees. You and he both rise, not running, not hesitating, just walking. The mud dries slowly on his eyes. Each step is both familiar and strange. He's walked this path before, but never with such weight in his chest, never with a command wrapped in hope, and never with the memory of a Savior's hands still lingering on his skin. Others might see only a blind man with dirty eyes, stumbling toward a pool. But you see it now. He walks with promise. Not sight yet, but promise. The footsteps that once passed him by have now turned to guide him forward. And you walk with him, toward water,
toward light, toward something he cannot yet see, but already believes.
Neither this man nor his parents. The road to the pool of Siloam curves gently downward, lined with uneven stones warmed by the morning sun. You walk beside him as he follows the sound of voices, the flow of footsteps, the distant echo of water. The mud on his eyes begins to dry. It tugs slightly at his skin, each crack a reminder that something has been placed over him, something sacred, something strange. He does not ask why. There is something in the way Jesus spoke, not just what he said, but how he said it, that silenced the need for explanation. Still, the words linger. Neither this man nor his parents sinned. You hear them again, like a soft refrain in your heart. Not sin, not shame, but purpose. You glance toward him. Though he walks carefully, hands slightly raised for balance, his face is not fearful. There's something almost peaceful in his expression, as if he's walking towards something more than sight. And perhaps he is. The dust rises gently around your feet. Vendors call out in the distance, unaware of the miracle unfolding down the road. You imagine what it must feel like. A lifetime of blame undone in a single sentence. To hear, for the first time in your life, that your suffering was not punishment, but possibility. How many nights had he wondered? How many times had he asked God to explain? And now, the answer has arrived, not as a scroll, not as thunder from heaven, but as a man kneeling in the dirt beside him. Jesus did not heal with distance. He healed with presence. He did not explain the mystery of pain. He entered it. You pause with the blind man at a turn in the path. He listens. A faint trickle of water now reaches his ears. Not loud, but persistent. He knows the pool is near, and something in him steadies. You remember the way Jesus said it. This happened so that the works of God might be revealed in him, not despite his blindness, through it. What kind of love sees brokenness as a doorway for glory? The kind that kneels, that touches mud to skin, that speaks life over shame. You feel a breeze move through the narrow street. It carries the scent of olive branches, the coolness of stone, and something else. Possibility. Hope is not loud. It doesn't shout. It moves like this, through cracked earth, through soft instructions, through the quiet obedience of a man with no vision, walking toward water. And you wonder, what parts of your life carry the weight of questions? What wounds have you feared were your fault? What if they too are places where God is waiting to reveal something holy? The pool of Siloam appears ahead, a quiet basin fed by ancient springs. People move around it, drawing water in clay jars, washing their feet, filling the silence with conversation.